You are now entering a dangerous liberty zone where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. What's happening, folks? Welcome, all you great Americans out there. Welcome to another Dangerous Liberty Podcast, where we know that safety at the expense of liberty is slavery, which is, again, we call this Dangerous Liberty Podcast. We're experiencing dangerous liberty, right? And that's something that Charlie Kirk talked a lot about with the Second Amendment. And we got a lot of stuff to talk about. But before we do, I want to go ahead and say hi to everybody over in the comments. We got Ann. She's making sure everybody knows to make sure you hit the like, subscribe, all those things. We appreciate that and helps us out. We got C-Max C-Tron. He said, I just came across your channel. I'm glad you did, buddy. Welcome. Kathy Parker also just found the channel. Thank you very much. I'm glad you're here. We got MPCV, Michael Livingstone, Lori Matthews, Jeff Johnson, John Rollins, Jason TG Sponsor, Steven YouTubing. Welcome, YouTubing. Con. What else we got? Joe K, JWWW, Alaska Andy. Good to see you, buddy. I haven't seen you in a while. And Johnny Grice, Young Slick 96, Miller Films, Rob Wright, Rob Kelly, Stephen Vacanti, Todd Ashley, Brian Green, everybody else that are coming in. Make sure you guys say hi. I'll try to get you in there. We're definitely going to cover some new stuff tonight, at least go over some new details and information. As you guys know, I posted that video talking about the body armor, all that other good stuff, and that is great. But one thing, folks, I do believe that I owe you a mea culpa. And there's nothing I hate worse than being wrong. And I try really hard not to be. But if and when I am wrong, I'm going to come clean and make sure you guys know. There is some new footage that I just got a little while ago that seems to indicate that Charlie was not wearing body armor. As you guys go through that footage, some of you were here late last night. We're up till 2 a.m. plus, going through that footage that I had. And to me, it is very convincing that there's body armor. As a matter of fact, a few hours ago, I would have bet a whole bunch of money that he was wearing body armor. Well, I'll show you. I'll show you some of the pictures that I have that I just received. And this is supposedly moments before. And it is very clear that he does not have body armor on. Let me get rid of that comment. So this is what we have. And, typically body armor isn't coming with nipples, but we can see that we obviously have some sort of mic up here or something that is, I would say that that's a mic. That was my first indication. What I don't understand is there does seem to be like a continuous line going across there. And here's the problem that I have with some of that is the fact that that makes that entire footage a lot weirder. So anyways, I'm going to get some additional footage and I'm going to do a reanalysis of that. But the fact of the matter is, folks, when I'm wrong, I'm going to come clean and tell you that I'm wrong so that, you can always trust us. So we will take additional look at hopefully additional footage that's coming out. I don't think much changes about that. I think ultimately, obviously, unfortunately, Charlie passed. I do stand by the fact that I think he was, dead almost immediately. But some of the way that the garment moves and things like that, to me right now is inexplicable. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there. Well, Andrea, if you watch Andrea said he was shot in the neck, so body armor would not have helped. Andrea, one of the things I went through last night is it does look like that a round impacts near here, and there's actually a spot on the garment. If you want to watch the video that I posted earlier, feel free to do so. It's a pretty good and detailed analysis, but it does look like the round goes straight up. Because here's some weird things about that. We have a 30-06 that was shot from 200 yards. Folks, that's not very far away. For people saying that require some sort of professional hit or some craziness like that. That just doesn't make sense to me. Just about anybody out there, I can get anyone out there on a target at 200 yards. So that's not a big thing. We're also going to take a look at the firearm. But we have 30-06, which is a fairly powerful rifle, and we don't have an exit wound. So what made sense to me, and what even before I came to the conclusion that it looked like the round went upward, was the fact that it looked like it impacts in the chest, and there's a lot of other footage that does too. The other thing too, folks, when you zoom out, and maybe I'll pull up the footage in a little bit and kind of rebrief everybody on what I clearly told you wrong, but it looks like the whole portion, it looks like either hard body armor or a soft body armor package that you can see underneath the shirt moves up. It's really strange. Now, yeah, that's true. Of course, it could be somebody playing, 4D chess, and, they didn't want to mount it to where it looked professional, but I'll leave that up to you guys. But all joking aside, it definitely looked like body armor on there. And I know there's a lot of people out there said, well, hey, you know what? The original discussion that I saw going was, hey, just the turbulence of the round, the disturbance in the air is going to cause the garment to move the way that it does. Folks, that's not a real thing. And I'm going to show you. We'll go ahead and add this to the stage here. Here's a video. Now, these guys are shooting a 50 cal, and they're trying to show a near miss. And this is one of the things that's been long a folklore thing. I've even heard it again. I was a sniper, done a lot of shooting 50 cals. That you don't even have to hit a target with a 50 cal. It creates such a vacuum near a target that it'll just break bones. It'll rip off arms, all of those things. That's not true with any round. And here is really good footage proving that. These guys are shooting a Barrett 50 just from feet away.
And it didn't even move. If this was going to rip your arm off, he should go for a ride before the muzzle blast gets here. Or maybe it rips his whole arm off, and then we've got another half of him.
We're going to capture a black hole forming in high speed.
I do know how we can find out.
Load up the 50 cal.
Load up the 50 cal. Performing an amputation.
Maybe.
In 3, 2, 1. Woo!
Why is his arm still there?
Why does he still have an arm? I'm a medical halt, dude.
So they go on to basically show, and then of course the high
probably an inch
shows that
the first thing through frame is of course shockwave.
Guy. Yep. Ding. It didn't even jiggle. I mean, we couldn't have got much closer to the arm, and it didn't even move.
There again, some sort of air disturbance.
It may as well
by the round is not a plausible explanation for me on how that garment moves the way that it does. This is a great question. What? So anyways, we are definitely learning some things together for sure. And yeah, like I said, I got that wrong, man. I'm pissed about it. Maybe a little bit in denial about it. But I think that is what it is. We don't want to be wrong on here just for pride's sake, but on top of that, I don't want to put out bad information. That's the honest God truth. But again, I think everything else stands when it comes to that. And I think I will pull up that footage because I want for people that haven't seen that video and you haven't seen, let me just go ahead and share that. Some of these things, it does look like there's body armor under there. Point being, and again, I'm wrong, but the point being here is that I can't share two screens at once. We don't like getting things wrong, but I'll tell you, I mean, that's a pretty, that's an easy one to get wrong, I guess. It's definitely very plausible to get that wrong. So, and I'll blow this up once I get over here to Premiere Pro. But I do want you guys to see some of this footage just for the sake of understanding where I'm coming from on this. And again, this is not to justify me being wrong, but I want you to see the weirdness that's going on with this to some extent. And because it is important. And I'm going to go ahead so you guys can see we have this whole portion of his shirt go up right after the very first shot. And that's strange. You know, that is definitely strange without a doubt. And you guys can see right here where there is some sort of defect or artifact. Maybe it's just a visual artifact that hits very at the top of the collar of the shirt and then goes on to do that, right? So again, it is a very strange thing that's taking place there. I'm trying to find the actual footage. I can pull it out of there real quick. And we'll just take this over here. We're going to spread this out, make this longer. And I think that, you know, as sad as this whole event is, well, to me, that brings a little bit of solace too. The point being, again, I'll take a look at that a little bit later as well. But the point being is that definitely is a strange phenomenon, that the shirt is moving as much as it does, and I don't have a good explanation. The only thing that I can conclude with that at all is that we have such a large internal shock wave that it just causes everything to jiggle. But again, even in some of that slow motion footage, you can see where it looks like a whole set of body armor. It's clearly not at this point, but it is what it is. So this is the 30-06 Mauser rifle. This is the footage. This is the pictures that the FBI is putting out right now. Again, this doesn't indicate anything to me, whether it's a professional or not a professional. I don't think that a professional did this at this point. If they are a professional, they did such a good job professionally that they made it not look like a professional. I don't think that a 200-yard shot, and it's not even 200 yards. There's a bunch of different numbers getting thrown around. I don't think they know exactly where the shooter was coming from. One thing that I do know that a lot of people were talking about was they didn't think that the shooter would have a clear line of sight to the venue, right? To Charlie Kirk. I got this picture earlier. I'll share this with you. And we'll put this over here. But we actually had the FBI go up to the shooter's location and took pictures, and there is clearly a clear line of sight. No pun intended there. But let me see. I will show that to you. And so this, and you can actually blow this up. You guys take a screenshot or whatever else you want to do with this, but you can actually blow this up, and I zoomed in a whole bunch. You can clearly see if Charlie Kirk was in there behind the table where he was, you would easily be able to see his head. And this is the alleged position that the shooter was shooting from. So keep that in mind. The other thing that was shown is, I'll go ahead and share this with you as well, as we have cancel. We actually have a supposed report from the FBI, or the ATF rather. This was put out by Stephen Crowder. He said he had a leak. I do have a contact in the ATF. He wasn't able to confirm or deny this information, but I'll just go ahead and read it to you. It does seem to be lining up now that we saw this rifle, or at least it's lining up with, some sort of narrative, right? So here's the report on September 10th, 2025 at approximately 12:24 p.m. Conservative political influencer Charlie Kirk was shot and killed at the Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. Mr. Kirk was speaking at the university as part of the American Comeback Tour, multiple SLC. 1 in 3 agents responded immediately. The suspect fired one shot from an elevated position on a rooftop in an adjacent building on the campus, and surveillance video shows the subject jumping off and fleeing the area on foot. ATF and other law enforcement located an older model imported Mauser 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle wrapped in a towel in a wooded area near the campus. The location of the firearm appears to match the suspect's route of travel. The spent cartridge was still chambered in addition to 3 unspent rounds in the top fed magazine. All cartridges have engraved wording on them expressing transgender and anti-fascist ideology. An emergency trace has been submitted. The ATF SLC is working leads generated by the trace. The firearm and ammunition have been taken by the FBI for DNA analysis and fingerprint impressions. Upon completion of forensics, the firearm will be disassembled for additional important information. Multiple people of interest have been contacted. The primary suspect has not been identified. And so we know, at least just before the show that came on, we still don't have the suspect apprehended or a suspect in custody. I'm jumping back over here to a news channel just to see if by chance we have any updates on this. Authorities released more images of persons' interest in Charlie Kirk assassination. What I don't understand, and maybe they're just 2 separate things and they got kind of lost in the sauce. I don't know if you guys saw that there were several news agencies that released recordings of police dispatch giving the description of the shooter. And so far, and I'm assuming that these pictures that they've presented of the shooter, which I don't think I've shown you guys yet. I don't know if some of you guys have seen them or not, but I'll if you guys haven't seen, this is apparently the suspect. So this is what he looks like. I'm looking over here, just browsing through different news channels, and apparently there is additional footage and pictures that they are. I'll let you guys see this, that they're releasing of him as well. So a lot of stuff that is developing with this for sure. You can guys go check that out. Let me see if there's. So this apparently is the guy.
What did it do to your family to learn about this past?
Or he's the
it is
of
still
interest.
devastating.
He
We're
is the
still
primary
reeling from
suspect.
it. Charlie was a friend. I saw him 2 weeks
What
ago
I
in
don't
Ohio. I talked to
hear,
him on Monday
like we
this
saw
week.
in that audio
didn't seem real.
recording, was
A young guy this energetic, this
like an
positive,
activist,
this willing to engage with people who
other
disagree with him. To see
additional
that he
tactical
was assassinated
So-
in cold.
I don't have good answers for you on that. Yeah, make sure you guys hit that like button. I will definitely be going through your comments and things like that. Yeah, I don't. Greg Hall says he could have been adjusting himself in the chair, leaning slightly back, and it grazed off his collarbone. I think it is highly unlikely that a 30-06. I'd like to see the ammunition to see what grain that ammunition is, but it's very unlikely that it just hit his collarbone and off his collarbone deflected. I'm not saying it's ballistically impossible, just super, super unlikely. Yeah. Maybe he planted guns somewhere days before this was planned out. I think this was definitely planned out. I don't know how much planning it took in advance. I was texting. He may be on the channel here, and this is just one of those things, folks. When events like this take place, I won't say who his name is, but a good friend of. I consider him a friend, and he's definitely a client of ours. He said, honestly, I don't know why his security team didn't have binos out and didn't have a guy checking roofs with all the threats this guy gets. Folks, the reality is that Charlie Kirk has a very small security detail, right? Again, he's not the president. He's not like some major diplomat. He doesn't have a lot of resources and things like this. And I can tell you right now, if I was that is a personal security detail, right? They are close proximity security. That's what they do. That's what they specialize in. That's really all they have the capacity for. And yeah, so the other thing to realize, and even what I said to him, you know, is, you know, there was a good 270 degrees of threat to monitor at multiple levels going out to about 200 yards. Folks, I don't think people realize how much that is to look at any one time. And again, if we had one of his guys, one of his security detail right there in the front, and he's looking up at roofs, and then a guy that right there in the front row pulls out a gun and shoots Charlie Kirk, we'd all be talking about how stupid that whole thing would be. And it would be stupid, quite frankly. So I get the temptation to go back and armchair quarterback this stuff and look at everything through 2020 hindsight, but that's just not. Charlie knew that he was assuming a lot of risk going out there. He knew it. And, you know, I don't fault his security detail. Like, there's only so much that those guys could do with the assets they have. So, you know, again, I know all of us, we have this desire to go back and, like, in some weird way, we want to, like, take it back, right? We want to go back in time and fix it, and we just can't, obviously. So that is what it is. Like, I don't know what to say. Field Blockchain says his head tilts back. If the shot came from in front, wouldn't his head roll forward? Could that be an exit wound? Could he have been shot from behind? I didn't see an exit wound from behind. You don't see an exit wound from behind. I don't see any indication. And the momentum of everything, when you slow down the footage, is kind of going rearward. So I don't think that there's indication that that is an exit wound. The whole thing is strange. There's no doubt. And again, I'm going to continue to look through footage. I'm going to continue to find more footage that's coming out. The pictures that I shared with you guys, I would like to see the actual footage. I reached out to who had those pictures. I want the footage, and hopefully we can get more detail. And hopefully as the days goes by, we see more detail, and maybe it'll just make sense in the days to come. But the whole chain of events that, you know, I explained in that video that I released today, you know, made sense then. Almost none of it makes sense now. There is a news conference at 7:30 Mountain Time. We'll be looking for that. Let me go over here. I'm going to see what we got as far as I'm looking for that conference so that if it pops up, we'll be able to tune in and check it out. All right, so yeah, at 9:30 there is a officials update on the manhunt for Charlie Kirk. We'll tune in on that as soon as that's up. Was there any way that we could have avoided this? Close says, was there any way we could have avoided this? I don't know, man. Like, you know, at the end of the day, if we want security, the most secure place looks an awful lot like a prison. And that's not a society that any of us want to live in. As Americans, we can't be afraid of these types of things. Assassinations are actually, you know, fairly rare until recently, or at least attempts, right? I think that was something that you saw a lot more going back, you know, 100 years ago, 50, 75 years ago. They become less and less. And of course, we still have murders and all those other things, and targeting and all that other stuff. I mean, Charlie could have just not been brave, right? Charlie could have just sat there and you know, did this from, you know, did something virtual, but he went to the colleges. He exposed himself to multiple threats all the time. Honestly, I think we're all surprised that something like this didn't didn't happen sooner. And the reality is that we have a left that continues to ramp up the just hatred. Folks, as I go through X, and I recorded a bunch of them, and I was just going to play a big montage, but I'm just going to resist doing that. But like all of these leftists, all these people just, you know, number one, saying that this was a staged, this was a hoax, that Charlie's not dead at all. And then on top of that, they're also saying like Charlie, he accidentally got killed. He was going to stage this. And it was a staged event that went wrong. It's just so stupid. And then on top of that, you know, there's lots of people saying, hey, he got exactly what he deserved. And this is one of the things that I freaking hate about our current society is the false equivalency. You do not see anything like that coming from the right, however you want to define that. It is the left. The left is hate-filled. The left is violent. The left wants to destroy people. The left demands you know, that you are in lockstep with them. And if you don't get to participate in society, and they will destroy you. And if they had the power, I think they would throw people in prison left and right for the simplest of opposition and dissent. And that's just a fact. And we see it. They require that all of their members within their cult are in lockstep, and they do exactly what they say. So like this false equivalency, like everything from like BLM, comparing it to what we saw on January 6th. I don't condone January 6th, but we had people in there. There were some people rioting. Most of them were protesting. The vast majority were peacefully walking through the Capitol. This was not a insurrection or anything like that. And to suggest that there's an equivalency between all the George Floyd riots and what we saw to January 6th, like to even compare them, I think is bananas. And then to go on and to gaslight everybody and to tell everybody that, you know, that was an insurrection, just crazy. And then you have the government go after all these people and put people in jail and don't give them due process. Like what happened after January 6th? January 6th is not the story. It's the government and the Biden administration's response to January 6th is the real story of craziness that shouldn't happen here in the United States. And yet it did. And there's some elements still embedded in our government, and Trump has yet to flush some of those people out. So, you know, that constant false equivalency between the left and the right, there is no comparison whatsoever. You know, and basically, you know, the left has taken advantage of that. We as conservative, right, traditional, wherever you want to lump us all into, whatever box you want to check and put us into, the fact is like we're too busy raising our families. We're too busy working. We're too busy working so we can pay the taxes so that other people can live off of our taxes. To go out there and protest and just make a fool of ourselves every time that we don't get our way, because that's what the left has become. So, you know, there's something to that I think we need to really pay attention to. I haven't seen that, DNS. DNS said, did you see the TMZ video of him walking to the venue? Shooter had the rifle hidden in his pants. We're going to look that up in just a minute. Shooter traveled across TMZ, New York City. No, that's different altogether. I'll have to look that up. I'm not seeing a story from them right away. I'm going to go to TMZ. I would like to see that video. But I'm on their website and I don't see a video like that. So we'll come back to that. I'll definitely look at that. Always said the Dems tend to be the folks who cry the loudest in society. Jeff Johnson says at Colby, one would think so, but there's not. Bullets can do weird things. I don't know what his response to, but here we go. 30-06. Colby, with 30-06, there should have been an exit wound, correct? Even with it being in the neck. Yeah, I mean, you would think. And again, you know, my explanation for there not being a exit wound was that it hit the top edge of body armor and it went up, and it still does look like something happens where it impacts the chest and goes up. I have a hard time believing that a 30-06 round hits collarbone and then just deflects upward. Weird things definitely do happen with bullets, but that is would seem unlikely, to say the least. This is why Colonel Sanders gave us the Second Amendment to fight off tyrannical. That is why we have the Second Amendment. There's no doubt about it. I was just about to ask if you think Cash should give a national news conference to update on both. Should yeah, I mean, I think Cash Patel needs to be out there giving a lot more news conferences and not tweeting. Him and Bongino. I don't want to hear updates on Twitter. I want them to come out and talk to us a little bit more often on everything from the Epstein files to other, other cases that are important to the American people, and a lot more updates in that regard. I think, there's a lot of things that this administration is doing right. There's definitely room for criticism, and that's another thing too. If we were Democrats, we wouldn't be criticizing our president. Like all the craziness that happened during COVID, there was very few Democrats out there that were criticizing the Biden administration. And that's one of the problems of the right, is that we eat our own. Yeah, I mean, that there's definitely some truth to that. Like these Democrats, the Democrats out there that are acting all militant and acting all tough are those people that have never been punched in the face once, much less ever had to go to war or anything like that. And they wouldn't last very long. Yeah, Jeff, you're right. I would say let live and let live. And this is the problem, is that this is our motto, right? I think there is definitely a libertarian flair through most conservative Americans, Republicans. It's like, hey, man, we just want to be left alone and do our thing, and we'll leave you alone if you want to sit over there and protest. But the problem is when we've sat back and we've allowed these people to accrue enough power to where they're now putting in policies that affect us, that affect our children in school, that affect our everyday lives, that affect us getting canceled, debanked, all the nonsense that we're dealing with that you would never think you would have to deal with here in the United States. It's definitely time to say that enough is enough, and especially when they start killing people. And that's where we're at in all this. No, you should definitely wear your buffalo head in public, Con. I don't know. No one ever said anything like that. Yeah, Rico, that's one thing I've been trying to find time to do all day, was sit down and actually pull out Google Earth and range that. There's been all kinds of numbers thrown out. I agree. It's only 141 yards. That seemed more like that was right. And again, it makes some of this a little stranger and some of this a little less strange, right? Because number one, 140 yards isn't hard to shoot. He clearly had a line of sight. I don't know. Colby said this whole thing screams, take a deeper look to me. Dakota says you avoid it by not letting the other side get away with dehumanizing our side repeatedly for over a decade, making mentally ill individuals believe they have no other choice. I agree with that. Andrea says, I think future venues are going to have extra security from now on. I can't understand why it was never done before. Well, there probably will be some more security for different events like this for like the next 6 months. and then it's going to go back to the norm. And as tragic as this is, there's nothing more tragic than school shootings. And school shootings have some really easy solutions. Like me and some partners started a nonprofit, but we wanted to focus on preventing school shootings and increasing security and bringing security awareness training and physical security infrastructure into schools that are easy to implement, that would all but stop school shootings. And folks, it's shocking how little interest there is in that. Like I don't know if it's laziness. I don't know what it is, man. It seems crazy to me. Look, there are physical security standards for government buildings. Every single government building that goes up, there is pretty much no physical security standards for schools. And there's very little physical security for schools. And there's a lot of things you could do very easily, very cheaply that you could implement in schools and mitigate, deter, detect, and prevent school shootings. It's super simple. It's not that hard, and we don't do it. We don't have the will to do it. We spend money on, we were talking to one school and they're like, you know what, we'd love to do this. We can't right now because we have to turn our football field blue, and it's going to be $300,000. They had a perfectly good football field. They wanted to make it blue, and it was going to cost $300,000. And that's what they did with that money. Instead of like a third of that, they could have spent on school security and made it almost impossible for any type of active shooter or active threat to go into that school. And if a threat did get into that school, it would make it virtually impossible for that threat to get to other students. And again, there's just no will. There's a will for it for a little bit. We get all amped up like, we got to stop this. 3 months later, we're done. We're off, on Facebook, on Instagram, getting distracted by, I don't know, the whatever is the flavor of the day. Manola Noriega says, I remember to go to high school in New York City. We had NYPD officers. That were unarmed, basically city employed security guards. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a real problem. And this is one of the reasons that we started homeschooling our kids last year, mainly because my high school student was going to high school last year. So we pulled them both out. The other one was in middle school. We did let the one in middle school go back to elementary school. The elementary school that we have here is pretty good. My high schooler, he did not want to do homeschool at all last year, and he was begging. I was like, fine, you can go back to high school. Well, that lasted about a day. Now he's back doing homeschool again, which is much better. What's your thoughts on bullets being described with trans quotes, and the question being asked was about trans mass shooters? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that means. If we are literally taking like a Sharpie to the ammunition, I would like to see that. I don't really have a comment on it or a thought on it until I do. Seems really weird. A lot of things about this seem weird, right? And I'm really trying hard to stay away from the conspiracy theory aspects of this. I'm always worried about this. F-14 flyer. That's because the left's true agenda is to get rid of guns altogether. Not interested in any other solutions. This is so he's referencing my comments about school security. But I'm always worried about false flags and things like that, where there ends up being this big push for getting rid of guns. I'm highly suspicious of the Las Vegas shooting. There's so many things about the Las Vegas shooting that doesn't make sense. If I was to have to bet some money on some things, I would say that, that entire thing, whether it was just the shooter, or there were other people involved or organizations involved, I really feel like that was some sort of event to kind of garner support for some sort of gun control. The whole thing was just kind of theatrical. The amount of guns in there, of course, bump stocks, all the things. It's pretty wild. Yeah, it does. I'll say the last few years, and I think obviously, COVID was kind of our wake-up call for a lot of people. You start feeling a little batshit crazy, right? Like looking at these things and kind of looking at everything from a different perspective and not feeling like you can trust anything that's being told to you, that you're being shown, or anything else. And especially with AI today, things get weirder. But I think ultimately, I think we have been being lied to for a really long time. And there have been these conspiracies in our country at work that we've been kind of in denial of. Because I do think most of the forward-facing people that when we think about policies and things like that, i.e. politicians, right? Somebody make sure you remind me when it's 9:30. We're going to jump over on that update, that news conference. But when we have these forward-facing politicians, it's easy to be convinced that government's too stupid to pull some of these things off. And I think that just makes us stupid, because there are some really, really genius level smart people in the government and making policies, and in think tanks, and in other organizations that have significant influence in how things are ran and what things are done here in the United States. And I think that these morons that we see on the cameras every single day are there to convince us that there is no way that there can be a conspiracy, when right behind them, there's the puppet masters actually pulling off real conspiracies and putting in policies, putting things in place that are damaging to our health, that are damaging to our society, that are damaging to our families. And I think we need to wake up and definitely be much more critical and just look at everything a little bit more skeptical, right? Charlie Kirk shooter. All right, so Monster Truck Steve says he's Googled this. I will Google the same thing. See what we can find here. I see. Witnesses say you saw Charlie Kirk go limp. This is why I need a producer. All right. Again, I'll continue to look at that. Maybe I'll pull that up while we're watching the news conference. Yeah. Are investigators collecting and reviewing all the video surveillance tapes from the surrounding area, or has the FBI seized and destroyed? It's not a terrible question. Government is a huge umbrella. The politician you see don't know shit. The real evil stuff happens under, that's right, an SAP. Secure access programs. I'm not sharing anything with you, and I'm joking. Well, I sure wish I could. All right. Of course, I can't click links. Links are unclickable for me. Here we go. All right. I'll share this and I'm assuming this is what you guys are
Mustang
talking about.
survival life jackets.
Of course, we're gonna have to
Gear up for more time on water.
watch
Trusted
a
by
commercial.
boaters for decades. Huge selection, expert support, and great prices.
All right, so this is before the shooting. All right, so I mean, it's crazy to me that they haven't caught this guy yet. They know his ingress and egress routes, and I don't know, for some reason we still can't catch him. Pretty crazy to me. All right, let's look at some of your other comments. Yeah, they don't even have his name yet. He was limping because he had a long gun tucked down his pants. That's the implication. It's a she. Is it? I don't know. Right knee is bending too much to have a rifle down his pants. Yeah. I don't know how much information we can garner from that video. Yeah. Yeah, they can't find him because he's not a J6er. If he was a J6er, if he'd not even done anything wrong, really, other than walked into the Capitol led by the Capitol Police, they would have already tracked down his cell phone and thrown his ass in jail. And that's what's crazy to me because, look, we, the United States, are the most sophisticated, most capable surveillance apparatus that has ever existed. And you're telling me that we can't find this person within a couple of days? I don't know. Yeah, this is a great question too, and this blows my mind that we will find everything out about this guy, but nothing about the guy that tried to assassinate our president. Yep. Cameron says, I think he has been found, and they are announcing it shortly. Well, we'll see. John Rollins says, Big Brother got a blonde eye. I'm going to think you're going with blind eye. Jacob, and for those of you just tuning in, I talked about this at the beginning of this podcast. I think I was wrong on the vest, unfortunately. I think I was wrong. Don't know what to say. I just saw some additional footage in the last couple hours right before we got on here that was sent to me, and it does appear that there is no body armor on Charlie Kirk. And I was talking at the beginning of this, that makes the whole shooting thing even weirder. I think that explained a lot of the physics that we saw going on. And then I also went ahead and, for all the people that were saying that, the basically the shirt moved because of the turbulence of the round. That's not a real thing. And we actually I played a video of high-speed ballistics of them shooting a 50 cal within less than an inch of different things. And it's basically a ballistic dummy, and it doesn't even move or anything else. There's not a lot of air turbulence that comes off rounds. It just doesn't. That's kind of a myth. So there's very little to explain what actually took place and the physics that are involved and how Charlie moves and things like that. And even some of the other things that show up in the footage. I don't have a good answer for you, but I do think I was incorrect. And again, it's all we're ever going to do is, again, analyze things, the information that we have. And then if we're wrong, I'm going to come tell you guys. Like I said, it always sucks. Sucks to do that. But what else are you going to do? It's what real men do, right? And women. Real men and women. What's your thought on it being from a different country? I heard that a $4 million donation from Israel, and supposedly he was changing his stance. Maybe. I mean, I think Charlie Kirk, if the implication here is Israel, I think Charlie Kirk, there's a lot of people that you would have, if Israel was going to assassinate somebody, I think is the implication here, said or unsaid, I think there would be a lot better targets. The fact is that I think a lot of people are changing the way that they feel about their support for the war in Gaza. You guys know, if you've been watching this show for any length of time, I've been a huge advocate of Israel. I do think at this point with Gaza, I think I'm just going to tell you guys, I don't care if you like it or not. I think they may have gone a little too far. I still support Israel. I still think that Hamas is mostly responsible for all the destruction that goes on in there. And I think that, I think it's complicated. But I don't think that it would benefit Israel for them to assassinate Charlie Kirk. I also think, I find it odd. I just don't think that Israel is the all-powerful demon that so many people make them out to be. I think Israel actually takes a lot of flack for the U.S., for actions of the U.S. All this Epstein file stuff, we can talk about Mossad, we can talk about Israel was involved, but let me tell you something. With all the movers and shakers that were hanging around Epstein, if that was a Mossad operation, that was a Mossad operation by, with, and through, and under the purview of the CIA. Nothing was happening out there without the CIA knowing about it too. So if it was an intel operation, the CIA knew about it, they may have been in charge of it, and they may just be simply blaming Israel for it. I think that actually happens a lot. Like, I think Israel ends up getting scapegoated a lot for some of the intelligence and other operations that the U.S. is actually responsible for. So I know I just pissed off a lot of people there. And again, folks, if you disagree with me, let's talk about it. Don't just get all pissed off and hurt feelings. Thanks, Ian. Gary's always right. I thought I was wrong once, but I was mistaken. Yeah, I plan on pulling that down. One of the things I was trying to do, again, this is like 30 minutes before I was doing this podcast. I was figuring all this stuff out. So yeah, I will do another video. I'll end up taking that video down. Now, I kind of explained some of the stuff early on when we started at 8:30. But I want to look at some additional footage. Apparently, there's a bunch of new footage coming out, and there were stills that were convincing that I showed earlier. That basically you could see Charlie Kirk's nipple in one of the stills, but that still is from obviously footage. I don't have that footage. The other thing is, I'm a little hesitant at. I'm not sure when that footage was taken. I mean, it was obviously taken at the event. I'm not saying that. I don't know. So anyways, I want to do a little bit more digging on that and confirm or deny that new footage and see if we can't see additional details or whatever else we can see with some of the additional footage that's now coming out. Well, you know, I mean, that doesn't necessarily clear Israel either, but I don't think for a second that Israel was involved with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Like, there's so many other people, there's so many other factions to gain. I don't think Israel gains a lot by, no matter, look, I don't think Charlie Kirk would ever stop supporting Israel. He may start to come out and I think he was starting to criticize them on some of the operations taking place in Gaza. That's very different than ending your support and starting some sort of condemnation tour of Israel. That's kind of how I feel about it. I think still that there's a lot of benefit that we have with Israel. I do think that they are a good ally. I do think needs to be some reassessment of what's going on in Gaza. But I do think at the end of the day that, like, that's how I feel. You know, I still support Israel. But I do think some of the things they're doing are wrong over there too. Well, there is, I showed there you go. All right, this is a supposed picture. I don't know where it came from. This supposedly was leaked by the FBI of the rifle. So there is footage being leaked or released. I just don't know how much. Yeah, I don't believe that either. Look, I mean, there's one clear enemy of Charlie Kirk, and that is the radical left. They are the absolute most likely candidate for this, period. And look, they have been trying to radicalize people against voices like Charlie Kirk, obviously President Trump, and many other. When you are effective on the right, you are a target of the left, and I mean that very real. You are an actual target, not just a target of ridicule or something like we would do here on the right. But you need to be watching your P's and Q's. You got to wear, you know, you're out there, have security. Yeah, I think that's a real thing, and I think it happens much more often than people realize. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard that. Yeah, I think that is most likely what we're dealing with, right? MK Ultra says, yeah, I'm not speculating on the conspiracy theory involving government. Seems more like a student terrorist, something assassination. We're going to watch the press conference right here, right now. Glad you brought that up. Let's see here. I am going to we're going to add this to stage. We're going to share this one, share this tab instead. This is scheduled. Here we go, folks. Put on some headphones so I can hear what's going on too.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Well, this is invigorating.
Mic check. 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Mic check. Mic check. Mic
All right.
check.
Well, we're not going to watch him do a mic check. We're better off talking amongst ourselves. But we will keep a tab on this. I'm going to turn down the volume on this guy. And we will come back to that as soon as we see somebody that is much more important show up. What are questions, comments? Dirt06, what if the shooter downloaded his ammo to a lower pressure? Would that better explain the odd deflection at Charlie's collarbone? Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I appreciate that, Toad 91. You know, and folks also too, like when you guys ask me a question, I kind of go off on a tangent sometime because you guys ask me a question that reminds me, I'm not necessarily addressing you directly, but reminds me of some of the things I know that's being said out in social media. So I kind of will kind of go out and expand on my response to you to cover all of those angles because I think that needs to be done. Shianya, I forgot to say your name. It's been a long time. Sienna, we're just going to call that. All right. I think it was a crazy person who was butthurt because his feelings got hurt and his whole life is based on a selfish ego. Little shit. All right. So we got a lady on here talking. No, this is a staffer. She's just looking at the cameras, looking silly. All right. How did the scope not bite the shooter? It's a terrible way to set up a scope. I mean, you could. It is more rearward than we would expect for sure. I don't think he got his proper eye relief. Maybe it did bite him. Who knows? Maybe the dude has a freaking cut eye now. I think the pictures that we saw of him afterward, he had his sunglasses on, so maybe he does. Let me remove this. Just saw a different angle. It looks like you can see it exit out the back of his left shoulder, through the neck, out through his shoulder. Yeah, see, I'm looking forward to seeing that footage. We'll definitely rifle in a box. That is suspicious. Actually, it's not. This is they have evidence boxes like this, kind of ready to go. A different agency, so that's not necessarily suspicious. They're gonna keep it, put some gloves on, throw in an evidence box like this, and try to maintain any forensic evidence that they can. Ace doesn't mean that intel agencies like Mossad couldn't use the radical left as a proxy to remove people. I agree with that. I think, as a matter of fact, that's probably very easy to do, whether we're talking about Mossad or we're talking about government agencies in the United States. Could 30-06 not punch all the way through if it were like a hollow point round? Hollow points expand. Hollow points are less likely to penetrate that much. But the fact is like, especially the neck area, like there's not a lot of, even if it hits the spine, it's pretty thin. Like this is like, I don't know, freaking with Charlie Kirk, he's a smaller guy than me. And, it's probably 8 to 10 inches thick of meat, and like rifles will penetrate quite easily 8 to 10 inches of meat and bone. So I do find it odd that we don't see an exit wound. Anyways, folks, I am, by the way, I'm keeping this, I'm watching what's going on, waiting for this conference to start. So I am tracking that. When they are crazy and men think they're women, there's no safe conversation. I don't disagree with that. And not just think they're women, like they're militant about it, right? I mean, they're like, hey, you're gonna let me go into the girls' bathroom or I'm going to beat you. It's not very ladylike. CIA or make him a martyr to galvanize the right. Look, I'm just as suspicious of the radical right as I am the radical. That's not true. I'm definitely much more suspicious and much more concerned about the radical left than I am the radical right. Oh, that's exactly what you're doing. When you're harmful to society, like Trump and Charlie Kirk, you're a piece of shit. I don't advocate for murder anybody and being vigilant, be a vigilante for justice, but Trump and Charlie were fascist racists. No, they weren't. And you have no real freaking evidence of them being either one of those. I'm so sick of hearing this. And like, this is the problem. The right, anytime that anything happens to the left, which is fairly rare because like the right doesn't go after the left, like the left goes after the right. It's always this but. And that's what you're saying there, air power. When you're harmful to society like Trump and Charlie, I don't advocate for murdering anybody, but Trump and Charlie had it coming. That's what you're saying. And I mean, just be a man about it and say it. No, I think the piece of shit is the one writing what you just wrote. We literally just played this a few minutes ago. Texas Outlaw, the video for that. They denied scientific medical facts that boys can become girls. No, that's you guys. Like this insanity that you somehow own science. There's so many doctors and so many scientists and just basic biology. You can't, boys are boys, girls and girls, all the way down to their DNA. And it's you crazy motherfuckers that want to try to pretend that there's something different. What's my take on the hand signal video? I think it's silly. I don't know if they were actually hand signals or what's going on with that, but I can tell you this, that guy that was doing security for Charlie Kirk, I do know, and I confirmed this through different sources. That guy is a personal friend of Charlie Kirk's. I don't think he was involved. You can see that same guy on so many of his other details. There was also another silly picture of him basically accusing him of being one of the guys in charge of security, the Secret Service at Butler. They really don't even look similar, but that's the implication. They're not the same guy. They're very different looking, in my opinion. But anyways, there's that. These are the two names being floated as possible suspect now: Omar Najra and Sky Valadez. So you mentioned Omar Najra. There was a bunch of, I actually recorded, I think. So there was a bunch of posts from Omar Najra. Hey, Jeff Johnson, I'm just now reading your text. Back at you, buddy. Omar Najra had been posting a bunch of crazy things saying, hey, basically wait till tomorrow. It started off saying, hey, I wish somebody would evaporate Charlie Kirk. He's going to be at my school tomorrow. And then later on, him saying something to the effect of, wait till you guys see what happens tomorrow. So that's interesting. I don't know if that's where that name is coming from or they actually have this person in custody. So that will be an interesting piece of information to find out. Yeah, we've covered that already. Thanks for showing up. Yes, I'm ex-military. The FBI director and Utah governor are set to hold a news conference tonight with other officials from CNN's. Authorities are expected to hold a press conference tonight at 9:30. We're watching it. We're on it. Just rewinded to the beginning because I just found this. Good, Nancy. And catch up on stuff. Just remember, our greatest ally, Israel, spent decades stealing our nuclear weapons secrets and then gave them to the Soviet Union. We actually shared a lot of stuff with Israel. Look, I'm not going to say almost every country out there that we're now allies with, we've had issues with. We've done espionage. Espionage to and from has been taking place with everyone, with Five Eyes, you name it. So there's plenty of dirt to be thrown around on all the above. There's lots of people in Israel right now talking about how all the ways that U.S. has screwed Israel over in the past, because we have. So it's tit for tat as far as I'm concerned. Like we've screwed over the UK. We've screwed over, we like, and they've done it to us. They've stolen things from us. They stole technology from us. Like this is an international norm. Let's see if I'm wrong and they didn't catch them. Yeah, there's definitely some weird things going on there, Dale. Dale says there's too many coincidences. Rifle found with the ammo and right, and it seems like it was all planned fine. Does every press conference start like this? I'd like this to start somehow. This one hasn't started. Stepped off my bus. All right. The left catered to all the lunatics and mental disease in order to create pawns they could manipulate. Yeah, and the other thing too is we didn't do enough on the right to stand up to them. That is one thing that I know. Like there is no quarter. I don't care if it's my kids' schools. I don't care if there's going to be constant pushback from me, and I hope everybody out there watching does the same thing. Like pledge to do the same thing. We are no longer like, I'm too busy, I gotta go work to deal with this nonsense, these idiots. We have let them creep forward to the point where now they've taken our ground, and we've got to start pushing back and not give up any ground whatsoever. Gary's twin with glasses. That's a great question, Jacob. We don't know. We don't know. That's a huge mystery. Yeah, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. Somebody else said it earlier in the comments. I actually want to check that out and figure that out. You know, you gotta love Alex Jones. He comes up with some crazy shit, and then come to find out, sometimes it's real. Yeah, why are the two men 1 foot behind Charlie signaling someone right before he's killed? I'm not convinced that they're necessarily signaling. The guy with the phone is really weird. The guy directly behind him is his head of security, who is a personal friend of Charlie's. You can see him in just about every video he does on campus. I doubt he's involved in any way. The other guy, given the proximity that and access that he has to Charlie Kirk, is clearly vetted. What he's doing, or if he's given some sort of signals, I don't know. Jeff Johnson says, no one's shooting that rifle, is making tailor-made ammo. Yeah, I definitely, that's the way that rifle looks. Jonathan Baker, don't we know the angle and direction based on the photo of him on the roof? I'm not 100% sure of that. I'm not sure when that photo was taken or that video was taken. And that's part of the problem with some of this stuff, guys, is like there's bits and pieces of photo and footage that we're seeing that is lacking continuity. Like, did that person, well, first of all, what we see, if you're referencing the only video that I'm aware of, is we see some, like, you can't even tell if it's a human up there. I mean, it looks like it's someone possibly laying in the prone, but you can't tell for sure. And then how close was that to the actual shooting? Did that person move or anything else? I don't know that we know those. And, you know, yeah, here's the problem when we're listening to audio from phones or cameras of shooting guns, and this is somebody that, you know, I spent a lot of time filming shooting guns. The audio compresses, and it's really hard to get to be able to tell what you're listening to, whether it's suppressed or non-suppressed, or, you know, if it's, you know, a full power load or something else. Like, it's audio on these devices do some really strange things to gunshots. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the big takeaway for everybody, right? I don't think we realize what a icon we had living amongst us. And I'll tell you, like, I didn't sleep much last night. I'm not an emotional guy, but man, you know, I definitely felt this one and still do. And it really does feel like, you know, again, I was just always watching Charlie. You get to feel like you know them. Yeah, you know, I think a lot of America is mourning today. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, well, that's all it takes, especially when you're dealing with 140. I believe whoever that was earlier said 142 yards. Yeah, like I said, Ryan, it's really hard to say. And again, I do a lot of shooting, suppressed and unsuppressed. And if you are using one of these, or even, you know, one of my bigger cameras or something like that, if you're shooting suppressed rifle and then you shoot an unsuppressed rifle, you can hear a audio differential, right? You can tell the difference between those two. If I was just to shoot one shot off camera, you would hear a report right near the rifle. You would not be able to tell whether it was suppressed or unsuppressed. Again, there's a lot of audio manipulation that's taking place in these phones, which is where we're getting most of the footage and the video being shared on social media. And it really gets complicated with some of that. If you had a really nice camera, and I have some other microphones where you have them leveled, and maybe you have different compression and different features turned on or off, you could probably tell. But even at some point, it'll get to a loudness point that it will peak. And some microphones will peak, which means they get to as loud as they can possibly go before it gets distorted, even when you're shooting something that is suppressed. Yeah, I agree with Colby. It is mounted a little far back, but it's still usable. And then he's talking about the this rifle. Everybody hit the like, subscribe button, all those good things. Again, we try to do a live podcast every Wednesday at 7 p.m. We talk about guns, gear, training, politics. We have special guests on all the time. We talk a lot about health and wellness, things like that. And again, most importantly, what we want is you guys to be able to jump in on the conversation, not just sit here and listen to us. We want you to ask questions, comments. We'll read them, all those things. We want you involved in all this. Maybe he was an officer in the Navy at some point with that skill. Yeah, support 2A is referencing a meme. Yeah, remember the Arabs didn't take over the Holy Lands peacefully. Many deaths. Yeah, like that's why I hate all these things that we talk about. And folks, this is still what we're looking at as far as the news conference goes. So I am tracking that, just so you guys know. Autumn fragrance. I watched the video. There are 2 wounds, one small hole below his right ear and a larger hole on his left neck. This must be some new footage that I have not seen. And there's definitely new footage coming out. And that's where, again, that quite frankly, some new footage came out that debunked my video today. All right. Well, I thought we had. You know, the Navy wasn't involved. The scope isn't backwards. Also very possible.
It looks like the Navy coming down the hallway here.
Yeah. Agencies totally use radical left and right guys, useful idiots. Absolutely.
Okay, they're coming down the hallway right now, so they're probably about.
Let's look at
30
the
seconds away.
Governor Whitmer
Oh, wait. Give them a little bit.
kidnapping plot.
Okay, they're coming close to the. Go now.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this news conference. Oh, there we go. These guys look important. All right, let's listen in, folks.
Did you make it? Okay, good. Sorry about that.
There's Patel. See what old Cash has to say.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here today. My name is Hillary Kellner. I am the Communications Director for the Utah Department of Public Safety. This evening, we have FBI Director Patel, FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino, Special Agent in Charge Robert Bowles, Governor Spencer Cox, Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson, and Commissioner Anderson, as well as, I'm so sorry, Commissioner Bo Mason, as well as some local partners here present with us today. Governor, we'll kick it off.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here tonight. We appreciate the media and the partnership we have with you in helping us to get information out to the public so that we can catch this assassin and hold him accountable. We are going to share a portion of a video and that we have of the suspect, as well as some new stills. Those have already been released, but we want to make sure that they get as much attention as possible so that we can get help from the public in tracking down this evil human being. So we're going to queue up the video right now. Show that. I've asked Commissioner Bo Mason if he would narrate to you what is happening in this video.
Thank you, Governor. Bo Mason, Commissioner for the Utah Department of Public Safety. If you look up to the top left, you'll see the building where the shooter was proned out in the top left corner. We'll go ahead and play that video and I'll narrate as we walk through that. So here you see that the suspect ran behind that upper building. He's going to come out on the right, moves to this far right corner. As he does, he's going to climb off the edge and then drop down to the ground. As he did that, he left some palm impressions. There's some smudges, some places we're looking to collect DNA. There's a shoe imprint where we believe the suspect is clearly identified as wearing Converse tennis shoes. Again, we'll replay that again so you can get another view of that. It's important to note his black t-shirt, his black pants, and there appears to be some white on the soles of those Converse tennis shoes. Those are all identifiable items that we're looking for. In the stills that are going to follow this, you're going to see a very distinctive t-shirt with an American flag and appears to have an eagle on it. There's also a baseball cap with a triangle on it and a pair of sunglasses. All distinctive, all things that we would ask the public to look for and try to identify if they know someone who has those items, who has been seen wearing those items. We're looking for all that information. Here you see the suspect after dropping off the building. He moved around across this grassy area, around the parking lot. We're going to pan to the right. After he crosses the street, this is where he moves over into the wooded area. This is the video evidence that we utilize to track his movements and to locate that firearm in that wooded area following the discovery of this evidence.
Could we not get a live feed on this video as opposed to a freaking camera?
So here's the still photographs I mentioned. These have been enhanced. So these are slightly different than what we introduced earlier. Please pay close attention to the t-shirt. Like I said, very distinctive with that American flag and that eagle. The hat with the triangle and the sunglasses. Go to the next picture, please. The backpack as well. All identifying features that we're hoping the public can help us identify and lead us to this suspect. Next picture. And again, there's a better picture of the hat with that triangle logo, and again, the t-shirt, blue jeans, and you get a good look at those Converse tennis shoes as well. We have pushed these out. We'll continue to push these out, and we just ask for the public's cooperation through the public. The tips that have been coming in are what are giving us our next leads and enabling us to continue to further this investigation. We've had great cooperation from the public, and we're continuing to ask for that as we move forward. Thank you, and I'll turn time back over to Governor Cox.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Mason. I want to thank Director Patel and his team. It's great to have them on the ground with us tonight. We've had several briefings, and he's had an opportunity to walk the crime scene. We appreciate our local law enforcement here. Again, we have Mike Smith, who is the county sheriff here. We have all of our local chiefs of police that are here as well, all working hand in hand with the state and with the FBI as we move forward with this investigation. Now, just give you a little warning, we will not be taking any questions at this time. We're giving you the latest information we have, being as transparent with everything that we have. But I do want to share a couple of things that I think are important. We cannot do our job without the public's help right now. The public has answered our call for action. So far, we've received more than 7,000 leads and tips. I would just note that the FBI hasn't received this many digital media tips from the public since the Boston Marathon bombing. This case also highlights the dedication of our law enforcement community. We have 20 federal, state, and local law enforcement partners that are working shoulder to shoulder to find the person who committed this horrific crime. With their support, we've completed nearly 200 interviews. As you're aware, as has already been reported, the FBI is offering a $100,000 reward for information leading to the identification and arrest of the person responsible for the murder of Charlie Kirk. We also continue to implore the public to support this investigation and come forward with any information. We are truly hopeful that this video and new photos will lead to even more tips. We are processing. We have an incredible team, a state and federal team working together to process those tips. We're going out in tandem to interview any potential person of interest or suspects, but we need, again, we need as much help as we can possibly get. Any videos or photos that you might have, the public, should be submitted to our digital media tip line, which is www.fbi.gov/Utah Valley shooting, all lowercase. Again, that is fbi.gov/Utah Valley shooting, all lowercase. You can also provide general tips about the shooting by calling 1-800-CALL-FBI. That's 1-800-CALL-FBI, or at tips.fbi.gov. This is, I would just say, this is not just a local matter here in Utah. We have people all over the country that are helping to bring this perpetrator to justice for Charlie Kirk and his family. I will just add as well that, as was mentioned, there is a lot of forensic evidence that is being processed right now at both the state lab and the federal labs, federal lab on the East Coast. So we are working in tandem together. I would also just add a word of note for those people who are spending so much time on social media. I think Charlie said it best, that when things get bad, we should put our phones down and spend a little time with our families. There is a tremendous amount of disinformation. We are tracking our team, the state team, and I'm sure the federal team as well, what we're seeing is our adversaries want violence. China, we have bots from Russia, China, all over the world that are trying to instill disinformation and encourage violence. I would encourage you to ignore those, to turn off those streams, and spend a little more time with our families. We desperately need some healing. We'll have more to say about that in the days and weeks to come. More than anything, we are going to catch this person. Last thing I will just say is we've been working with our attorneys, getting everything that we need, affidavits ready, so that we can pursue the death penalty in this case, and that will happen here in the state of Utah. Again, to the public, to those who are grieving, thank you for your prayers. I know we are feeling those prayers. I know the Kirk family is feeling those prayers as well. We pray that God will bless our nation at this very dark time. We can start healing by finding this perpetrator and holding him accountable, and we need your help to do that. Thank you.
Cash Patel's not going to talk? Are you kidding me?
That's what I'm saying. Shoot the dream if you don't care about sex. I don't know. That's what he was saying. I'm just relaying them. Well, I know. I was trying to zoom in on the video, but I want to make sure they're straight. I want to make sure it looks nice.
Well, folks, that may be one of the most disappointing news conferences I have ever witnessed. All right, let me turn off this audio over here because this is pointless. All right, so that's it, folks. That's what that's what we have right now. Yeah, I was shocked that Cash Patel did not talk. This is that's outrageous. Him or Bongino, like, what's the point of them even being there? Just so they can stand in the background and look pretty? That is, and everybody was asking it, and it's a great question. I want to go back through that footage too. I saw no rifle anywhere. Like, how did it end up in the woods? How did that happen? Yeah, I don't even know what to say about all that. I am blown away by what was not shared. That's absolutely crazy. What is this on here? Yeah. Yep. That was not an FBI update. You were exactly right. Yeah. You're welcome, the range. Yeah, Cash Patel and Dan Bongino. I agree with everybody in the comments. It's been a pretty big letdown. We keep getting carrots thrown out there. We go chase them, and then they evaporate. Oh, we're gonna get this. Oh, we got some new stuff. No, never mind. It's nothing new. Yeah, the news conference could have been a text. Not only could it, first of all, it was an absolute worthless news conference. And then on top of that, what really pissed me off just now was that they have cameras pointing to a monitor with all kinds of glare. Like we're losing so much resolution on that. multiple times over. Like, why did they not give a direct feed so they can broadcast that footage? I'm hoping if I go to Fox News or some other news outlet, we see the actual footage that they just showed secondhand through a camera. Like, this is 2025. That's absolutely ridiculous. I know less now. Yeah, I can't. There's a couple of people saying go back. I can't. I don't have. This doesn't allow me to go back and. I actually, obviously, I can't. Hold on. Well, maybe. Let me see. Let me see. I may be able to do that. Nope. Hold on. I can. This did repost from a live to. All right. Let's kind of analyze this in real time. I got it now. All right. Let's do this. All right, we'll go to a full screen layout here and see what we can actually see. Again, we got a freaking camera light on the screen over here. I mean, how amateurish. All right.
Thank you, Governor. In the top left corner, we'll go ahead and play that video and I'll narrate as we walk through that.
All right, so we can actually see him running across there. Again, there is no sign of a gun or anything else.
So here you see that the suspect ran behind that upper
Structure.
building. He's going to come out on the right, moves to this far right corner. As he does, he's going to climb off the edge and then drop down to the ground. As he did that, he left some palm impressions. There's some smudges, some places we're looking to collect DNA. There's a shoe imprint where the suspect is clearly identified as wearing Converse tennis shoes. Again, we'll replay that again so you can get another view of that.
Can't tell if that backpack on his back is big enough for a rifle.
Pants, and there appears to be some
Might
white
be.
on the soles of those Converse tennis shoes. Those are all identifiable items that we're looking for. In the stills that are going to follow this, you're going to see a very distinctive T-shirt with an American flag and appears to have an eagle on it. There's also a baseball cap with a triangle on it and a pair of sunglasses. All distinctive, all things that we would ask the public to look for and try to identify if they know someone who has those items, who has been seen wearing those items. We're looking for all that information. Here you see the suspect after dropping off the building. He moved around across this grassy area, around the parking lot.
Like, there's all kinds of cars. There's all kinds of people out there. They didn't see this taking place.
We're going to pan to the right. After he crosses the street, this is where he moves over into the wooded area. This is the video evidence that we utilize to track his movements and to locate that firearm in that wooded area following the discovery of this evidence. You want to go to the stills?
This is obviously a PTZ camera. Like, how did they know to be tracking him like that in the camera?
So here's the still photograph.
Or is it
I
recording 360? I don't know what's going on with that.
Different than what we introduced earlier. Please pay close attention to the T-shirt. Like I said, very distinctive with that American flag and that eagle. The hat with the triangle and the sunglasses. If you go to the next picture, please. The backpack as well. All identifying features that we're hoping the public can help us identify and lead us to this suspect. Next picture. And again, there's a better picture of the hat with that triangle logo, and again, the T-shirt, blue jeans, and you get a good look at those Converse tennis shoes as well. We have pushed these out. We'll continue to push these out, and we just ask for the public's cooperation through the public. The tips that have been coming in are what are giving us our next leads and enabling us to continue to further this investigation. We've had great cooperation from the public, and we're continuing to ask for that as we move forward. Thank you, and I'll turn time back over to Governor Cox.
Thank you so
All right. All right. So I don't know, folks. I didn't see anything that really looks like it could actually hold this rifle, if this is indeed the rifle. I don't know. We definitely didn't get the answers that we wanted to. Yeah, it looked like almost like a garment in his hand. It could have been a larger bag, something that was holding the rifle, but yeah. Can't be an athlete, be an athletic supporter. Yeah, we watched that footage earlier, Brad. I'm not sure. I'm not buying that there's something in his right pant leg. He's definitely walking with a limp. I don't know. I'm more confused, for sure. Well, the problem with that is that they said they found it in the woods and that he carried it over to the wooded area where apparently it was. I mean, that seems to be what they're suggesting. Mr. Fixitary, we deserve better. Charlie deserves better. The general public is already doing better than this crack team. He was wearing black pants, proceeded to show him in blue jeans. Come on, man. Yeah. Yeah. Again, this is a great question, too. That's what I was wondering. Like, I don't think that backpack is fitting that gun, that rifle. Oh, man. All right. I'm looking over on Fox right now. I'm just kind of curious if we can, again, guys, look at this trash. Like, hold on. Let me just show you what I'm looking at right now. Like, here we go. A secondhand video. Like, are you kidding me? We can't get this actual footage so that it plays like a normal freaking video. Look at this. This is what Fox News, this is the video that they have right now. And they're just going to replay exactly what they showed in the freaking news conference. Of course, we got to watch a 30-second ad to get there.
We could tell you how we push past the status quo.
Dear God.
And how no one out-innovates us. Or we can just show you.
That's a great question. Yeah, so again, this is the Fox News. It's the video they have. We're just going to zoom in, big old glare on the screen. This is absolutely idiotic. I mean, this is just as absolutely dumb as it gets. I don't even know what to say. I'm removing that from the feed. Let's play this because people are saying they're seeing things that we couldn't see in the first news conference. That's for sure. He's carrying the gun, dumb fuck. Well, we couldn't tell from the video that we watched. I'll tell you that right now. All right, let's play this. Like, whatever he has, it folds in his hand. That doesn't look like a rigid firearm.
Those are all identifiable items that we're looking for.
I'm going to try to make this as large as possible here.
You're going to see a very distinctive T-shirt with an American flag. And
I want you guys to see right here.
In the stills that are going to
Everybody saying he's carrying the firearm.
You're going to see a very distinctive T-shirt.
And go watch this if you want. Like the whole, whatever he's holding in his hand, like folds.
With a triangle on it and a pair of sunglasses. All distinctive, all things that we would ask the public.
Maybe it is, but again, this is like the shittiest video of a video I've ever seen. Like if you're serious about catching these people, then how about we give us actual footage?
Off the building, he moved around across this grassy area, around the parking lot. This is where the wooded indicate that firearm. You want to go to the stills? Video evidence that we utilize to track his movements and to locate that firearm in that wooded area following the discovery of this evidence. Good. You want to go to the stills? So here's the still photographs. I mentioned these have been enhanced. So these are slightly different than what we introduced earlier. Please pay close attention to the T-shirt. Like I said, very distinctive with that American flag and that eagle. The hat with the triangle and the sunglasses. If you'll go to the next picture, please.
Like that's what it looks like to me.
The backpack is
maybe it's not, but again, they're giving us the worst possible footage.
The public can help us identify and lead us to this suspect. Next picture. And again, there's a better picture of the hat with that triangle logo, and again the T-shirt, blue jeans, and you get a good look at those Converse tennis shoes as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to take anybody seriously on this. All right. Well, hopefully by morning we'll have some additional, I don't know, maybe some real footage, the actual footage, not secondhand footage, just some footage, and kind of go from there. All right, folks. I think we're going to end it right there. That was, again, I share your sentiments that this was extremely disappointing. This doesn't look like the FBI of the United States of America to me. It looks like a, I don't know, some third world banana republic. Anyways. I haven't heard of anything about a screwdriver being found. I thought you said they would have him by tonight. I didn't say anything like that. Never have. I don't know if you're referencing me or somebody else, but that ain't me, bro. The FBI X page. All right. So if that's true, we're gonna go there real quick. So I'm on X right here. I will try to find that footage and we'll see if we can't play that. And then we will call it a night. All right. That is, let's see if, I got a still so far. Let's see if we got actual footage. All right. We do. We got actual footage here. Let's share this tab instead. Let me go back here, make sure you guys can see this. And all right, let's see what we can see here. This is much better. All right. What he's carrying does look more rigid there. It doesn't look more like a rifle. All right, so it's a little bit better, but it's still trash footage as far as I'm concerned. All right, folks. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think of that. Make sure you like, subscribe, all those good things. We got new information. We may do another live stream tomorrow. If you guys find more information, tag me on X or on some of the other accounts, Facebook, YouTube, or you can send information to services@ParamountTactical.com. Hey, thanks, guys. You guys continue to be great Americans. Until next time, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.